Hi, if you're just joining us, this is a closer look, and my guest is Bricky, who is the Public Education Officer of the Kingsport Fire Department. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we left off discussing Halloween safety.
That's
Let's
that time of year.
talk about it. Yeah, it is that time of year.
Well, one of the big things we always want to make sure that when kids are choosing costumes, or even adults, because I know a lot of adults, they celebrate Halloween just as much as the kids do nowadays. But make sure your costume is safe. And there's a lot of things around that you can look at that. With that safe costume, make sure that there's no long trailing fabric, nothing that you could trip on. If a child is wearing a mask or an adult's wearing a mask, make sure they can see out of it.
Oh,
because, I've seen some very elaborate costumes, and a lot of times it's like, how in the world do they even see out of that thing? And they have to have somebody help lead them around. And, make sure that they can see out of them, make sure they don't get hung up on something, and that's really important. Now, if you've got kids that are going to go out and trick or treat, a lot of places, I've noticed this over the last few years, we don't see many kids out after dark anymore. They'll go to the trunk and treats, they'll come downtown to the big thing, prior to Halloween, and, the kids will get a lot of candy when they do that, so they really like to come to them. But if the kids are going to be out in the neighborhood, make sure they have a flashlight or maybe a glow stick as part of their costume.
Okay.
You could even get some of those little clip-on little tiny strobes that flash, little red strobes. You've probably seen some of those. They're LED powered, and that way the kids can be seen when they're out running around in the dark. Because if you're out in the neighborhood, the kids are wanting to go to doors as quickly as they can, and you know how it is as a parent, you can't keep up with them.
Yes.
One wants to go this way, one may want to go that way, but they need to be able to be seen. And so maybe some reflective clothing or reflective pieces also in their costume.
You can buy that reflective tape. Just stick a piece or two on.
Of course, the kids have the shoes too that light up, so
that's good.
That's something that you could use. Also, make sure that when you're decorating yourself at your home, to look out for, maybe if you have dried flowers or corn stalks or things like that, or even crepe paper, that you make sure that's not anywhere close to a flame. And that way it's, good and safe. Also, make sure that it's not close to a light bulb or a heater or anything that could heat it up, because we want you to be safe when you're decorating. Also, if you're going to be using a jack-o'-lantern or making a jack-o'-lantern, I would stay away from using candles. Everybody wants to put a candle in there.
Yes.
And now you can buy these LED powered
little votives.
Little votive candles. You stick them in there, and it looks and it flickers just like a flame. So
much safer.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about hot wax spilling out if a child trips over it or something like that. And it was always the thing, if you light that candle and stick it down in there, it's like, well, how am I going to get it down in there? Is the hole in the top of the jack-o'-lantern big enough? And so, people, they don't remember that they have to put it in there.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, how am I going to light it if it's in there inside? Am I going to be able to get a lighter back in there? And so having those LED candles are fantastic. You don't have to worry about them burning.
You can even throw glow sticks in them.
Oh yeah, you can. You can put a glow stick in there. And I have seen some of the new LED products will actually change color and do things like that, so you can stick that in there so your jack-o'-lantern and your decorations look a little bit different
even
than
better.
And so they're even cooler than they were. Also, make sure that around your home, if you're having a party or something like that, a lot of people have a Halloween party for adults or for kids. First of all, if you are having a party, make sure that you're not mixing alcohol and into the fun too much. That way everybody's good and safe.
Yes.
But also make sure when you look around that you don't block any of the exits. Make sure that there's a clear way out, especially if you're doing any cooking or anything while you're getting ready. Make sure that everybody is aware of how to get out if there is something going on. And also, you need to make sure that you have working smoke alarms, because it's that time of year when people are maybe cooking a little bit more. And so make sure that those smoke alarms are working, because cooking is one of the top causes of fires in homes. And so we need to make sure that everybody is really safe when it comes to that. And then, make sure when you talk to the kids that they're looking out for each other, that they stay with the adults, that they don't run ahead too far, that they do have those things that aren't dragging behind them, the fabric. But if something were to happen and they were to get too close to a jack-o'-lantern or something that was a heat source and their costume were to catch on fire, they need to learn how to stop, drop, and roll, which a lot of the kids will get that when they go to the schools, and we're actually doing a lot of fire safety this month.
Right.
It is October, a lot of fire safety in the schools, and they're learning how to stop, drop, and roll and things like that if they're clothing were to catch on fire. So, we need to just kind of emphasize safety all the way around.
And being responsible.
Absolutely. And, we want all the people to have a good, fun time around the holidays. Every year there's around 900 house fires in the United States around Halloween.
Really?
And a lot of those are caused by candles and, and maybe even some heating issues, because, it's that time of year. I did notice that there was a little bit of cold in the air this morning, so that kind of felt nice. And it's going to be like that. It's going to get a little cooler as we go. And so, just kind of being safe all the time and looking out for those things that could cause us a problem.
And we're starting to have fires inside too.
Oh, yeah.
We got to make sure that our chimneys are clean.
Yeah. If you have any type of alternate heat, whether it is a kerosene heater or a space heater or something like that, or even a wood fireplace or a gas fireplace, make sure all of those are in good working order. Now, if you have a fireplace or a wood burning stove, you need to make sure you get in there and get that creosote cleaned out, because what that is actually vaporized fuel. The smoke is actually vaporized fuel. And so as that smoke goes up through a chimney, it'll start sticking inside that chimney. And I know growing up we had a wood burning stove, and it gave us some great auxiliary heat in the wintertime. Matter of fact, in our basement, it would be about 95 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one of the bedrooms down there. That's where my brother had a bedroom at, and he was always like, "Oh, it's so hot downstairs." But it was, but it felt great all through the house, especially when there was snow.
Just open up that door and it brings up the heat and makes the floors warm.
Oh, yeah, it sure does.
Yeah,
and
we had one too.
And it's great. It's great, but you need to make sure that those chimneys are cleaned out. If you don't have the capability or the knowledge to know how to do that, I'm sure there's chimney sweeps in the area.
There are, because we've used them.
Professionals can do that, and that's, sometimes you want to leave some of those things up to them, and then you might even need your chimney inspected if it's a little older, to make sure that liner inside doesn't have any cracks or anything, and there's not any cracks that would lead into the structure of your home, because anytime you do have a fire, there could be embers, and if they have those cracks and things in that chimney, it could get inside of the wall or inside the chimney, and it could actually set your house on fire.
Barry, is there a rule of thumb of how often you should have your chimney cleaned?
Well, I think everybody should do it at least once a year, preferably before you start using it, maybe in the fall. And that way, you know that it's good and cleaned out. If you're using a lot of like pine and some other woods that have a lot of sap in it, then you might want to have it maybe cleaned again, maybe during midwinter. If you're noticing that it's not drawing out like it should, and the air's, there's smoke coming into the house instead of up through the chimney, then you probably want to have a professional come check it.
Well, let me ask, those color flame logs you can get, the Duraflames that are so nice, do those clog up chimneys any more than just regular wood, or does it not make a difference at all?
Anytime you have a fire, anything that burns, it off-gases. So it has to turn from a solid or a liquid into a gas. And so when you're burning wood, it's turning from a solid into a gas. And so what you have, any type of smoke, is actually particles of whatever's burning. And so a good example of that is like, we have a lot of people around here that smoke barbecue. And so if you put that barbecue, the meat in there, you have this nice charred outside, and it blackens it up. That's the same thing it would do to your chimney. And so you really got to think about all of that stuff coming off of whatever you're burning, and it'll go somewhere. It's either going to burn or stick in your chimney or go out your chimney as smoke.
So it's just about the same as burning wood. It doesn't make it worse. It's just another source.
Yeah, it's just another source of combustion. And so, you just need, anytime, you always should be cautious, any type of alternate heat, whether it is that fireplace or the wood burner or the kerosene heater or space heater, that they're always in good working order.
Well, let me ask you this. It's also turkey time.
Yep, pretty close.
People like to deep fry turkeys, deep fry that kind of stuff outside, smoke things outside. Is there precautions that people should look out for, in particular, that maybe we're not thinking of to be safe?
Anytime you're doing any type of cooking, you should always be as safe as possible. And so with the first time I had deep fried turkey was years ago, and I was like, where has this been?
Where has this been all my life?
And so I've done that. I have a turkey fryer and things. They can be very dangerous. And so what you really want to do if you are going to fry a turkey is to make sure that you don't have too much oil, inside your pot. Make sure the oil isn't too hot. If your oil is smoking, the oil's too hot. You should always have a thermometer in there and always check that temperature and make sure it's not too hot. Keep your flame low, because any of that grease that's going to pop out can go to the flames and then they can catch fire. And then whenever you drop that turkey in there, you need to do it slowly. Plus, you need to make sure it's thawed out completely and it's dry, that it's dried off on the outer surface. Because anytime you add water to that, the water is going to expand and it's going to start blowing the oil out of the pan. Oh. And so you need to make sure that you're very, very cautious.
Because the water and oil aren't a good mix.
Water and oil don't mix. And you know, if you do have a fire with grease, the best thing to do would be put the lid on it, whether it's in a pot or a pan, or use a fire extinguisher. You never want to use the water, because the water will turn to steam and it'll expand and it'll throw that grease everywhere and it will make a giant fireball.
And that is so important to know, because our first thought is throw water on a fire.
Yeah, you never want to do that on a grease fire.
Not a grease. I mean, a towel, or like you said, an extinguisher. I always have one in my kitchen. I think most people do, or should.
Yeah, they should. And you know, you can use like baking soda.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to use flour on it, because flour is combustible.
Okay.
And so baking soda or a fire extinguisher or the lid that fits the pan that's on fire, and never use water.
That is really good advice. And on that, we're going to say thank you. But just to wrap this up one last time, just if you're unsure about what to do, call the fire department, call the fire marshal, and just ask.
Yeah, they can call us in the fire marshal's office, 423-229-9440. If they have any fire safety questions, we'd love to answer those.
Okay, very good. I really do appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Learned something every time we talk.
I'm glad.
And you think you know what, oh, this is common sense, and a lot of it is. But there's also little things like I didn't realize flour was combustible. I never thought of throwing it on a fire, but I didn't realize that. Baking soda, good. Flour, no.
No.
Well, Barry, thank you so much. And again, I'm enjoying my fire safety class, and so I'm going to encourage people to do that too.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Barry.
Hey,
have
my pleasure.
a safe fall. And if you have any questions, call this guy. And thank you for joining us on A Closer Look. We'll see you back here next week. Have a great day.